Hello, everyone. This is Sartaj Anand, the founder of EgoMonk, and welcome to Business Beyond 2030, the show where we explore the socio-economic and technological revolutions shaping our world, and the role of business in realizing the future. Business has the transformative ability to move all of us from today to tomorrow with a shared purpose. And I have the privilege to unpack complexity with the world's smartest and most compassionate business leaders and decision makers as they deliver on their promise of abundance. We'll kick things off with Sanket Atal today. Sanket is the managing director of Intuit's India Development Center, which plays a strategic role in their mission of powering prosperity around the world. He leads a team of over 1,000 talented employees who deliver key innovations for products that delight millions of small businesses, self-employed customers, and consumers around the world. Sanket's background is in systems engineering and managing large organizations. And his passion for innovation has resulted in him holding multiple patents. Thanks so much, Sanket, for joining us today. Really appreciate you taking the time out.
Absolutely. Pleasure.
So, let's start with a recent high for Intuit. Intuit was number 2 on the Great Places to Work list for 2019. What makes Intuit so great?
I'll start with the mission that Intuit has. It's powering prosperity around the world. This is a mission that I was really amazed at even before I joined the company. I was doing some research as to what Intuit is all about and what makes Intuit tick. And one of the things I found in my research was the then CEO, Brad. I saw videos of him doing a financial presentation.
Yeah.
And he would start with the mission of the company and the values, right? It's a company that's driven by the mission and by the values. And unlike a lot of other companies that I've been at where there is a mission, there are values, but nobody knows about them. Mm-hmm. Or if they know, nobody does anything with them. At Intuit, we embrace the values and we truly live by them. And to me, that's fundamental to what makes Intuit tick. And one of the key values is about employees. So we have a concept of a true north. And the true north for Intuit is employees are the most important things in the world. So we have a concept of that, the investors and stakeholders are like food. You can live without food for quite some time and still do okay. And then you have your customers. And the customers and partners are like water. Mm-hmm. You can live without water, not for very long, but you can. Employees are like air. It's the air you breathe. You can't live even for a few minutes.
It's an immediate need, yeah.
It's an immediate need. So this basically sets all of your orientation towards how to best ensure that there's an amazing environment for employees. And the other thing that makes it really special is a lot of other companies pursue this whole great place to work. So it's a company, mm-hmm. and they come and do a survey, and then you have to produce some materials. For us, we had participated in it for some time, but then the fundamental shift that we went through that elevated us was we gave it in the hands of employees. So we don't have a dedicated team of HR or communications people that are doing this. Mm-hmm. It's all run by the employees. In fact, most of them are fairly junior. And they decide what to do, how to do, and how to basically convey the message of Intuit's culture to everybody. And it's amazing, Sartaj, what happens when you empower somebody, when you allow them to think, allow them to be creative. Because that's what Intuit's about, and that's what comes out when they put together all of this material towards this. In fact, after we first came in the top, in the top 5, and then after we came number 1 2 years ago, a lot of companies approached us and they're like, hey, tell us the secret sauce.
Yeah, how are you making this work?
How are you making it work? And we're like, hey, all it takes is trust your people.
Yeah, I think employee-first cultures are so powerful because they allow you this flexibility and this space to grow. Could you talk a little bit more about this culture? Like, how are you building culture every day at Intuit as a leader?
So for me, again, every single day, I'm happy coming to work. And it's because I joined because of the values, and this is a company that takes the values very seriously. Each and every employee lives by the values. And to me, that's what truly makes it a great place. And for me, the fundamentals of what it takes to be a good person and a good professional are 3 things. The foremost is respect. Having respect for people. So one of the things that I personally follow is I treat the doorman of the office in the same way that I treat Sasan Goodarzi, who's our CEO. They're both human beings trying to make a living. We should respect everybody. The other part is honesty. So being truthful about your feelings and being able to convey how you're feeling truly helps in establishing a very trusting relationship between people. And finally, having fun. Unless you have these three things, and the fun is, it's third, but it's not the last, right? Unless you're having fun in what you're doing, you're not going to actualize your potential. So I truly believe by practicing these three things, you can create an amazing environment at work, and which is what happens. Each of the engineers you meet, so we have all of these grassroots, we call them communities, whether it's technology or it's a great place to work or something new that we start. We meet with the engineers, we tell them, hey, here's what we're trying to do. First of all, you tell us if we're in the right path or not. And if it is, let's figure out what to do. How do you want us to help you to do this better? And we just let them go. And it's beautiful what happens.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to get out of the way of people to live their best life.
Absolutely.
And it seems like that's what's happening at Intuit. So Sanket, Intuit has always had great leaders at the helm. You have Scott Cook, Brad Smith, and now Sasan Goodarzi. So what's your personal approach to leadership? What values matter the most to you?
So, there's a commonality between all of these people, right? First is all of them follow the true north that I told you about. They're very people-oriented. And as a company, we believe in our customer. We respect our customer. Every decision we make is customer-backed. And I think that's a very, very important angle for the company. So when you are for example, what makes the culture great? When I first met Sasan or when I first met Brad, what do you think I did? Most people would expect I'd walk in the room, hi, good morning, sit down or shake hands.
Yeah. I
got a warm hug. Welcome to the family. This is how my journey began. And I sat down with Brad I had a nice presentation prepared. I'm the new guy in India. Here's all these things. And he's like, put that away. How's the family? How are the kids? I understand your daughter's about to graduate.
Okay.
Right. How is that going? So it's this touch that makes a big difference. And I mentioned that because that's what I'm all about. My personal culture resonates really well with the company culture. And the company's culture has been shaped through all of these experiences. So it's, like I said, it's a combination of those three things. It's respect, honesty, and having fun, which is what we all do. As you see today in this shirt I'm wearing.
I think when leaders bring this level of humility and grace to the forefront, it's disarming. And it sounds like that was your first touch point with into a disarming honesty, disarming welcome. So you mentioned employees, you mentioned customers and investors, but we've also noticed that developer-focused sort of SaaS companies are right now hot in the market. Developers are a big deal for Intuit as well. So could you talk a little bit more about how you think about developer relations and engaging this rich developer ecosystem?
So, it's foolish for any company to think they have all the ideas. It's good to be an enabler. It's good to have an area of expertise, a domain that you know really well, and you provide a solution for that. But to go from that to other areas where even more segments of population are being served, you have to leverage the developer ecosystem. It's really important. And there's some amazing thought leaders there. And plus, what's happened today. So I'll preface this with a concept that I've been, thinking a lot about, which is the 3 Ts. So a great enabler today is the 3 Ts, the first T being technology. Just 20 years ago, a company wanting to create something that's competitive with Intuit or competitive with another company like Oracle, it would be unthinkable because the amount of cost needed to be able to do the right hosting, the right technologies would be prohibitive. It'd be prohibitive. Now today, by virtue of the cloud, state-of-the-art technology, state-of-the-art security, state-of-the-art scalability is available to you in something I call, India's favorite 3-letter acronym. Do you know what that is?
No, tell me.
EMI.
Okay.
The cloud is EMI. It's perfectly suited. So that's the technology part. Technology accessible to everybody. Yeah. And then there's talent, right? In 2 ways. One is a while back in India, I'll just use India as a primary example. So in India, whenever it came an opportunity for you to enter the workforce, the parents were always saying, hey, join a government service. That's the stable one. After that, when people became a little bit more comfortable, it was like, okay, join, a private company, but it has to be a big company, a Tata or a Birla or something like that, then it's fine. Today, people are very adventurous, right? They're absolutely willing to join a startup and take that risk. That's a fundamental enabler of innovation. In addition to that, one does not need to come to a company with all the knowledge a priori.
Yeah.
You can go to a Coursera or Udemy or wherever it is and learn new technologies really, really fast. So now talent is no longer a barrier. And finally, earlier, if you wanted to, say, penetrate, a city in Europe, say Paris, it was very difficult to do that sitting here. Today, with the technology and the data available, you can be sitting here and target a particular locality in Paris and do that really well. So the 3 T's enable you to do amazing things. And this is what's causing this big propagation, this increase in number of startups that's there. So whether it's startups or it's an individual who wants to do freelance work, all of them are very entrepreneurial. And I think it should be fundamental to any company's service to the community to enable these great entrepreneurs to do great things. So we have done the same thing. All of our products have APIs that are available. So we call this our open APIs. And using these APIs, you can develop amazing things. And we are enabling them to do so. So today we have 20, 30,000 developers who are actually actively developing applications. Some of them are, for example, we have a product called QBO, QuickBooks Online. In QuickBooks Online, there's a little button. You click that. That's our app store. So all the apps that have been designed for QBO are available right there. But you can also have something called private apps, where these people have developed these applications. And you can get it from them, connect them to your QBO instance, and now all of a sudden you have connectivity between your SaaS product and this product that you bought. Yeah. Right? So all of these solutions are coming up, and it's only accelerating. So we have created an ecosystem now, and I'll talk about it. It's called Intuit Circles. And this program is greatly enabling all of these entrepreneurs to actually be able to produce amazing solutions, right? So I'll mention about Intuit Circles if that's okay, Sartaj. So Intuit Circles is about 3 things. The first thing is, when you have startups, it's a very lonely life, okay?
I can attest to that.
90% of startups, especially tech startups, fail within the first 5 years. And majority of the failures are because of financial mismanagement. It's not fraud. It's just that smart people think they know numbers and hence they can handle money. So money in, money out? Sure, absolutely. A lot of people actually just take the bills and put them in a shoebox somewhere. Say, I'll deal with it. Some of them are more sophisticated. They use Excel. But when it comes time to go to the bank, to go to an angel, to go to a VC and do due diligence, your ducks are not in a row, and you fall flat on your face. This is an epidemic worldwide. So our goal is to provide a modicum of financial literacy and indicating to everybody that, look, you need to take care of this in a sophisticated manner. There are all these tools available. We have tools from our company, but there are plenty of other tools available. But please do use these and have good discipline about them so that you don't need to become an accountant. You focus on your core competency. So that's the first part of what we do. The second part is startups need to know about each other, and they need to be able to share what they're doing with the rest of the world. So we have a fundamental concept within Intuit called Follow Me Homes. Okay. And Follow Me Homes is coupled with something we call CDI D4D. And this is necessary to understand what we're trying to do. So Follow Me Homes is basically, I don't know if you're a student of sociology, but there's something called participant observation. So rather than me asking you what's ailing you or what the problem is, I come and observe you at your workplace and try to figure out what is it that's actually hampering your progress. We use this as a foundation for CDI, which is customer-driven innovation. So using this, we take a look at all of the problems and see what is it that we can solve, right? Because there's numerous problems, but what are the set of problems? What are the problems that we can solve? And plus, what's the set of problems that we solve to gain, to be able to sustain our kind of market presence.
Sure.
Okay. The intersection of these three things, competitive advantage, the aptitude to solve the problem and this thing, is the determinant of the what.
Yeah.
What is the problem we're trying to solve? And then we try to have an empathetic approach towards solving the problem and come up with a solution for it by working in partnership with the customers. And after that happens, we provide the solution, but we don't fall in love with the solution. We keep on iterating and making it better and better and better. So the combination of these two things, finding the problem and then coming up with a solution and not being satisfied with it. So basically don't fall in love with the solution, fall in love with the problem, allows us to be very creative. And using this, one of the things we found is startups were looking for a way to be able to have a community, to be able to talk about what they're doing and to connect with each other, because there's so many questions. Where should I bank, right? Which co-working space is nice? Which VC should we talk to?
That knowledge base. Yeah.
That knowledge base. So we've created a community where they come together. There's no money in it for us. It's something we think is an enabler for startups' longevity, which is one of our goals. Powering prosperity around the world means extend the longevity of the startup. And the third part is all about integration. So we have the open APIs. We provide a support system so that startups looking to do integrations with us get technical support from us and get presence in our community, indicating, look, these are the startups that have actually integrated with us. And that allows them to have a market presence. And think about it. If you are a wannabe fintech startup and you develop on top of our platform, it's a robust fintech platform of a company that's a multi-billion-dollar company. You become a fintech company. What happens with that? Your valuation rises.
Yeah.
All of a
You're
sudden,
lifting the board for everyone.
Exactly. Yeah. So all kinds of doors open up. So the combination of these three things is what Intuit Circles is. And Intuit Circles is enabling the developer. Exactly.
Intuit Circles, when we did our research, also was a refreshing way to engage with startups through Intuit's core competency in finance. You mentioned a bit about how you go about designing the program. Have you seen any outcomes already from this? What's been the response to Intuit Circles?
The response has been phenomenal. Intuit Circles has only been around for a few months. Because I joined about a year ago, and then a few months hence, we begin and follow me home, CDI, D4D takes time. We want to do it right.
Sure.
But in a short amount of time, we have hundreds of companies that have signed up with us. And we're actively working with them towards what their needs are. Each company is distinct. A lot of the companies have very ambitious plans for integrations. And again, we're working with them. So all that work has begun. A few of the companies have already finished in the process of publishing their apps and providing them to the customers. Some of them are creating apps just for India. A lot of them are creating apps that are worldwide.
Yeah.
And since we have tens and tens of millions of customers, their reach will be worldwide. So they are quite eager to be able to avail of that.
Yeah, become a global fintech company right out of India, which is the dream.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Intuit Circles has been started here, but the goal is to make it international. So pretty soon, we'll be taking it to other countries as well. So then you can very well imagine the combination of these three things, and especially the community aspect, which is a network. Right?
Yeah.
So we'll have a network of startups here, a network of startups in country X, Y, and Z. All of these networks potentially interacting with each other forms a formidable web.
Yeah, this is the network effect that we've seen out in social just now for developers. So I think it makes a lot of sense for a lot of emerging markets, particularly like folks like Israel, strong ecosystem there for technology, demonstrable history in exporting that IP. So it makes sense.
Absolutely.
What's next then for you personally to engage with the startups? What comes after Circles? Is there another engagement technique or ploy or platform that you're thinking about?
I firmly believe in doing something really well and then moving on to other things. And the way it works, Sartaj, as you know, it's a journey. Right? So it's just begun with us. It's just been a few months. And the way we'd like to work is we work very closely with the startups and keep on getting feedback. And we want to shape the program to their needs. So this is, they're always very surprised. For example, we're not an accelerator or an incubator. We partner with them. We partner with accelerators and incubators. We partner with co-working spaces. And it's, again, it sounds repetitious, but Brad always says repetition never ruined the prayer. So I'll repeat it again. Our mission is powering prosperity around the world. That is how we measure the success of Intuit Circles. It's not by amount of revenue generated by people potentially using our product, etc. So it's all about the ecosystem. And the only way to improve the ecosystem is by listening and understanding what is needed. So our goal is to actually understand what's happening, shape the program according to it, and the next step, like I mentioned, is going international and then helping Intuit circles be international and helping the entire global ecosystem of startups.
Correct, yeah. So one of the reasons I asked that question was that Intuit is fairly active as an M&A player. You've had 29 acquisitions so far, Origami Logic, T-Sheet, lots of big things happening there. Do you see a similar strategy for a market like India?
Intuit looks at companies everywhere in the world. There's a constant search happening. And if there's a need and there is a fit, we're willing to take a look at it. At any point in time, there are companies in most countries we're present that we're looking at, including India.
Sure. What are your thoughts on co-innovation or open innovation, right? You mentioned that you don't have all the answers. Sometimes the problem is outside your core focus. How do you make sure that you're always in sync with the problems, and how do you use open innovation to navigate that?
Yeah, that's an interesting one for us. Again, there are two aspects to it. One is our obsession with understanding the customer, right? And we do that through all of the mechanisms I described earlier. And then the other part is that as far as pure technology is concerned and being able to innovate, first of all of our innovation. So unlike a lot of companies where the technologies come first and then the application of the technologies and the help that the customers will get comes later.
Yeah, the use case, they've figured it out.
We do it the other way. Right. So we use all of the state-of-the-art technologies. You talk about AI, ML, blockchain, all of those stuff we use, right? But each of those is towards helping the customer. So likewise, for example, we have begun, so there are a lot of open source projects that we have actually seeded. One of them is Karate. Karate is a framework for doing some fairly advanced testing on UI. So we created that in-house and we have made it open source, and we're working with the open source community on that. There's another company, I can't name it right now, whose product we're using, but it's all open source based. So we plan to actually create projects in the open source and be able to enhance that and help everybody with that. So our attitude towards technology is whatever we can give back to the community, we will. And the process has already begun in various areas and it'll continue to do so.
You mentioned AI, ML, fourth industrial revolution technologies are already disruptive. You've sort of integrated them to some degree. Did you expect this maturation to occur so quickly? Because AI has been in the works for a decade, and then suddenly it became white hot. So did you expect that? And have they affected the product and innovation roadmap in any way?
I think that's a good point. Technology evolves in strange ways. So I'll share something with you. When I was doing my undergrad, that's when I began studying AI. It was the first AI course introduced in my university. I went to Cornell in New York. And all kinds of interesting things were there, right? And this was in the late 80s. Yeah. And after that, I went to actually grad school to do a PhD in AI. I ended up not doing that because I became disillusioned. Great concepts, but nothing concrete. And I'm a guy who believes in that. How is it applicable? And from there, I've been following the trend. And you're right. It's the momentum has only been increasing, right? And I think part of the reason is that our ability to have data and to be able to do great things with it in the form of computation is tremendous now with the GPUs, etc. It's just absolutely amazing what you can do. And some amazing things are happening. So for us, we've embraced AI in an amazing, spectrum of ways. So I'll give you a couple of examples, right? So we have something called the knowledge engine. So the knowledge engine is based on AI concepts.
Sure.
So the fundamental thought behind that is you take a representation of rules in natural language, you'll be able to read that, decipher it, and come up with code that actually represents it. And where is it used heavily in our product? The US tax code is 80,000 pages.
Yeah, that's tough to navigate.
And our primary product in the US, not primary, but one of the two major revenue generating products for us is TurboTax. Yeah. And now you can imagine if we have to do that every year, go through 80,000 pages to figure out the nuances, it's a formidable task. But we have developed an AI system that actually goes through it, generates the code, and we're able to get all of our products out in time, compliant with the latest tax code. So it's a huge application of that. We call this our knowledge engine. It's all based on AI. Now, the other part is we have this product now, TurboTax. and you, for example, want to do your taxes. Now, to do your taxes, depending on what level you're at in your age, your investments, etc., it might take you maybe 30 minutes. Sometimes it might take you 4 or 5 hours, depending on your investments with your house mortgage or whatever. So we have created models that allow us to essentially fill out your tax forms for you. So you come in and you fill out the basic things. Now, again, you're a TurboTax user. Some of your basic information is already there. And based on that, and based on the forms you upload, we fill your entire tax thing. And we tell you, hey, here's the form that's ready. At first, it's a surprise because you're like, well, I've gone from like 4 hours to like 5 minutes or whatever it takes. And there's a lot of skepticism, but eventually when people compare, they're like, oh my goodness, this is actually correct.
It works.
Yeah. So, this is a practical use of machine learning, right? And it gives you back 4 hours of your life.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. And we use a lot of ML in various different ways. These are two examples that hit you, every single year.
So this is great. You mentioned QuickBooks, TurboTax. I've used these in the US before. So they're giant brands. Everyone knows them. They are still finding their feet in India. They're just growing here. What are your thoughts on adapting and localizing these offerings?
That's an awesome question. So, the product that we sell in India is QuickBooks Online. It's a SaaS product. And as you've witnessed yourself, India's online journey has accelerated in the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
With the penetration of internet into second, third tier cities, fairly fast internet, it's been amazing. So the time is ripe now for a company like Intuit and for QuickBooks Online to actually be able to make its presence here. And so what we've been doing is understanding, again, what the customers want. For example, GST is a big deal here.
Yeah.
So we've been up to date with the latest happenings in GST. We're in touch with the GST forum. And as changes happen, we adapt to it. All right. And in addition to that, there are certain things which are prevalent in society which we just need to take care of. I'll give you an example. I think, again, this is not a scientific study, but Sanket study, is that I think WhatsApp is the most prevalent in India.
Sure.
So we created a solution whereby a small business could actually issue an invoice on WhatsApp and actually get paid back on invoice. And our customers are absolutely loving it. So there are a lot of these things that we're trying to do, which will make the lives of customers a lot easier.
Yeah.
And now that the high-speed internet is, I would say, almost ubiquitous, our adoption rates are going really, really well. The other thing we have done is we have also aligned ourselves very well with the accountant ecosystem. Because as you know, in India, as a small business owner like yourself, to do the year-end filing, you need to have auditing from an accountant. In addition to that, the first thing that people think of when it comes time to do anything to do with finances for a company, especially in a do-it-for-me country like India, is, hey, do you know an accountant, right? So we're engaging with the accountant community and trying to figure out what's the best way for us to serve the customers here. And it's going really well. So our India market is actually doing really well. And but I'm looking at it actually accelerating even further with more adoption of the technologies.
Yeah, the accountant is pretty much the next gen developer, so to say. So that's great.
And I'll just add one more thing, if I may, Sartaj. A very interesting fact. So today, majority of accounting is done using a product that's a desktop product. And so the typical mode is that your accountant is in his office or her office, and there's a bookkeeper in your office and doing all the entries on the desktop. When it comes time to analyze stuff, there's data taken from you on a disk or a USB drive to the accountant office. Using our product, it's all in the cloud, and it's highly secure. It's available on your mobile, 24/7, etc. So if you want to do any reports, you don't have to wait for an accountant to generate reports. You can see your reports anywhere you'd like. And the accountants, their lives have been made easier because there are actually 4 or 5 interesting case studies we've done of accountants where everybody works from home. And there's an accountant servicing customers in Kashmir, for example, all sitting here. So the ability to get uniform access to data using the cloud solutions is enabling accountants to have a much more creative way of approaching their business and scale really well. So that's been another effect, which is not the end customer, but the accountant community that's truly benefiting.
An intermediary. I think removing these data silos has been the promise for a long, long time. It's happened across the board, but this is a sort of microcosm that was pretty insular. So it's great to see technology disruptions happening here as well. Just projecting a bit into the future. we believe 2030 should see digital currencies, emerging technologies like blockchain sort of become more mainstream. As a technologist, what do you think, and how are you approaching these emerging technologies?
So if you take a look at us, our company has been around for like 36, 37 years, whatever, let's do the math. What has allowed it to thrive? It's the fire in the belly. We always think like a disruptor. And a lot of technologies have changed. In fact, the original Intuit was the first famous product was Quicken. We don't even have Quicken anymore.
Yeah.
But what we have done is we always think like a disruptor. And we take a look at what's happening in the market, what's happening with the technology, and see what changes we need to make. So we went from the desktop, right? So the DOS era, to Windows, to the internet, to cloud, and today we are an AI ML first company. All of it because despite the fact that we were doing really, really well, we saw the change coming and we decided to actually do it. And we do it over and over again. I'll give you an example. 3 years ago, we were not in a public cloud, but we made the decision that that's the right thing to do. Rather than having our own data centers, let's embrace a public cloud. In a short 3 years, we have migrated everything to that. In fact, all of our tax processing, for example, happens on Amazon, on AWS. Not a single glitch. We are used as case studies by a lot of companies on how to actually use the cloud for scalability, reliability, etc. So what I'm getting at is because we have this disruptive mindset, this fire in the belly, and are not afraid to adopt change, provided we do proper research, that is the right thing to do. We're not afraid to adopt change even when going is really good. We're able to embrace and actually enhance new trends in technology. What will happen in 2030? Neither you nor I can predict, right? There's so many things happening. If you take a look at just things happening through one man, our favorite, Elon Musk.
Yeah.
You have reusable space rockets, right? You've got, human...
Underground tunnels.
Underground tunnels. I love the name of that company, by the way, boring company. You've got like your brain to computer, connection Neuralink, now happening. Yeah. It's absolutely amazing. Forget even him. 30 years ago, if somebody came to me and said, hey, Sanket, you'd be able to use a small device in your hand to do a video conference with somebody sitting in the US, at any point in time, I'd be like, you're joking.
Yeah, science fiction.
It was complete science fiction. Science fiction turns into reality before you know it. So what will happen in 2030? I don't know. But I do know that as a company, we'll be ready for it because we're always on the lookout for new technologies and are willing to make that change.
This is the classic innovator's dilemma that Clayton Christensen spoke about. And he speaks about that the most daring companies have this ability to cannibalize their own business if they have to because they know the future demands it. So great to see that Intuit dares greatly. If you were to start a company today, if you were just 18 today and you wanted to become a startup, what's that one problem you'd like to solve or tackle with technology?
This is a belief I've had throughout my professional career. It's very easy to make something complicated. It's very difficult to make something easy. And I believe that there are so many amazing technologies that are available to fairly sophisticated users, which is allowing them to get a leg up on competition, etc., which are beyond the reach of a lot of people. Rural folks, for example, they're willing to make the change. But my goodness, it's such a leap of faith to be able to adopt that kind of technology because the complexity involved in being able to do anything.
Yeah.
I would love to take that, for example, our own product, QuickBooks Online. It's actually a fairly simple to use product. But if you put yourself into the mindset of, say, a pan wala, you tell them, hey, while you're selling pan, make entries in here to, make sure you record each and every sale. You'll be like, what are you talking about, man? I can't do it. How do you create simplicity on top of complexity and make the life of the panwala much more manageable, leveraging latest technology to actually be able to grow and into becoming a much more successful panwala? Or say, your roadside hairstylist, right? So to me, being able to serve the true small businesses in India, and there are tens and millions of these, right? And help them using technology to have better lives. That's my dream. And there are things that we're already experimenting with for that, but I would love to see that happen.
Yeah, the next billion is already online, and now is the time to serve and build the products for them. So this segues nicely into the next question, which is thinking a decade ahead. As a business, what are the big opportunities and challenges that you think Intuit has in a market like India?
India is about scale. And whatever we do, we'll have to do at great scale and make sure that the adoption penetrates, all the tiers of cities. Having said that, I don't know if you've read the book by Kishore Biani about It Happens in India.
Yeah.
There's India 1, 2, and 3, and each one of them is the size of a continent. So even if you just stick to one layer...
There are many Indias.
There are many Indias. So even if you stick to just one layer, you're fine. But I think, so rather than from a revenue perspective, I'm looking at from a prosperity perspective, from the ability to increase the longevity of a business perspective. Intuit India has the challenge of how can it help more and more companies in places where today people have not even heard of something like QuickBooks. And that's a formidable task.
Thanks so much, Sanket, for joining us today. Really appreciate you taking the time out, and I hope you had fun.
Sartaj, it's been absolutely amazing. Very interesting discussion, and made me think a lot, actually. And I love what you're trying to do. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Trust me, lots of people are looking forward to this episode, and hopefully they'll reach out to you as well.
Thank you so much.
EgoMonk is an impact publisher, bringing organizations closer to the communities they want to serve and the leaders they wish to influence. We combine insight, context, and experience to deliver asymmetric outcomes and are driven by our goal to positively impact 1 billion human lives by 2030. If you would like to collaborate with us, then please visit our website, egomonk.com, or send me an email at sartaj@egomonk.com. And if you like this episode, then please do share it with others and consider rating and reviewing us wherever you listen to your podcasts.